All right, Garrett Blevins here with a quick summary on how to implement and use the free BLEST percentage and RPE based programs that are out. There's an early, late, and early and late novice and early intermediate that is available right now. So the way that you'll get to those is you can come over, you can either scroll down the home page to the free programs option, or at the top of this, you can go to the free programs tab, and that will bring you over to the free programs area. There's an instructional video here right now. I'll also probably put this video itself in here at some point, so you may see that. You'll notice that there's this guided template coaching, which is an option if you want form review and access to a weekly coaching call where you can ask questions about how to implement or adjust the programming as you're using it. But that is not required to get the programs themselves. You can download these for free. The early novice is going to have 4 tests every 3 weeks, so you're going to be testing frequently. Late novice will have 2 tests every 3 weeks, and early intermediate is 1 test every 3 weeks. So those are your 3 options. You should pick the one that is closest to what you're using right now. If you've never tested or set rep PRs or tracked anything, it'd probably be good to start with the early novice program, even though you'll probably progress from that very quickly. If you've never trained before, you're just starting to go to the gym, the early novice program is definitely the right option for you. So all you're going to do is, I'll show you from scratch, you'll hit download. It should download right here, and you'll open that up, which I'll switch my screen here to Excel. All right. Perfect. So now you can see the Excel screen. Now, when you first look at this, there's going to be a lot of blanks and a lot of value questions. You'll notice that there's nothing in here for your maxes on your squat, bench, or deadlift, and none of your weights have populated yet. That's because if you're a novice just starting out, you likely have never tested your 1 rep max. And the last thing I want you to do as a novice is go into the gym and go max on squat, bench, and deadlift. You haven't worked on your form at all. You haven't dealt with those types of weights before, and that's a recipe for injury. So this is why there are these question marks in here. The question mark is symbolizing the, hey, let's figure out what this weight is. And the way you're going to figure out what this weight is by using RPE. So what are you going to do on week 1, day 1? Well, you're going to come in and you're going to look first to see what exercises you're doing. On this day, you're going to be doing a squat, a bench, and a deadlift. You're going to be doing 2 sets of 8 for squat, 3 sets of 8 for bench, and 3 sets of 8 for deadlift. You're then going to follow up by getting an arm pump with dumbbell work. You can do that using 3 sets of 10 or whatever really you want to use, but you should use a bunch of different exercises. So when I say get an arm pump, I haven't outlined everything that you should do, but you should be doing some tricep extensions, tricep press downs, some bicep curls, maybe some upright rows if you want to hit your shoulders a little bit too. This is really a do whatever you want to do and get a pump. And I also want you to do walking lunges, 4 sets of 10, holding dumbbells. Now, if you need to just do this with your body weight to start, that's fine, but it can be either, I mean, track it however you want. If you really are struggling with these, you could do 4 sets of 10, meaning 5 steps with one leg and 5 steps with the other as you walk around, so 5 total steps with each leg, and that could be 1 set, and you could do that 4 times. If you're better at these, maybe you do 10 steps with each leg, so you're doing 20 total steps, and you count each one of those walks of 20 as a set. That's really going to depend on how prepared you are to do those and how much weight you're using. Really, I would like you to take 20 steps for your counts of 10, meaning 10 each leg or 20 total steps. But regardless, that's what's going on there with that. So you're in the gym day 1 and you see these RPEs here. RPE can be a little confusing. These are guidelines, but I just want you to really focus on doing all of your sets where you're leaving 2 to 3 reps left in the tank. I obviously want you to go a little lighter on deadlift because it's in an RPE 7. So I want you to exert a little less hard on deadlift than you do on squats and bench. So what you would do is you would start, and here I'll pull up, I'll just write it up here for an example. You'd start with the bar if it's your first day in the gym. So you're going to be doing 2 sets, sorry, not 2 sets, sorry. 1 set of 8 with the bar, 45 pounds. So sets, reps, weight. So you might be doing something like that to start out. After you do that, maybe you still don't feel real comfortable. Maybe you do a second set with just the bar, squatting with 45 pounds with the bar. Then you feel like, okay, that was pretty easy. I definitely could have done 3 or 4 more reps. I'm going to up the weight a little bit. So you're going to do 1 set of 8 reps. And let's say you add 10s to each side. So you're using 65 total pounds because you've added a 10 on each side of the bar. At the end of this set, I want you to start saying, how many reps did I have left? If it was a piece of cake, super easy, you had 20 reps left in the tank, then obviously you can make another jump. Even if you think you have 5 or 6 reps left in the tank here, you can make another jump. So do another set of 8 and increase the weight up again in an equal amount to 85 pounds. If you, and you're just going to continue adding that. So right here, you've added 20 pounds. Here you've added another 20 pounds. And you would continue adding that weight until you finally get to where you felt you only had 2 reps left in the tank. Let's say, for sake of argument, you do another set at 105, and when you get to 125 for a set of 8, you say, okay, I think I had 2 to 3 reps left. I could have done maybe 11 or 12 reps or something like that with that weight. So what you're going to do is you're going to write that weight in here, 125, and you're going to, instead of just doing as you did here where you're doing 1 set of 8 and then adding it up, you've done 1 set of 8 at this, you approximately had 2 to 3 reps left, so then you repeat and you do that weight 1 more time, so you've done a total of 2 sets of 8 with this weight. And you take only that weight and you write it in. That was your top set and your repeat set. So you're going to do all the sets, all these 2 sets of 8, all these 3 sets of 8, and all these 3 sets of 8, all of those with the same weight. You could put some notes in here and say whatever you want to say about that set. You could talk about your form. You could write yourself some reminders. You could say, hey, I really felt tired on this day or whatever, but you write your weight in there. Then you're going to go to the bench press, and you're going to do exactly the same thing with the bench press. Let's say when you get to 85 pounds on the bench press, you're like, wow, that was pretty hard. I only had a couple more reps. So here's where you only had your 2 to 3 reps left. So you would write that in here, 85. And then after you did your first set with it, you would repeat that 2 more times for a total of 3 sets of 8 with 85 pounds. And it might be good to write in the notes here. You can expand this if you want to write more and all that, but you might say like first set at 8, second set felt even easier. It felt like it was at 7.5, maybe because you got a little bit more comfortable with the weight. And then last set was harder than the first set. It was at 8.5 RPE. That's a very good note to write yourself, so you remember how those 3 sets felt. They're not all probably going to be at the same RPE, but you're just trying to ballpark these 3 sets around this RPE 8. Now on deadlift, you notice this is an RPE 7. So on this, I want you to work up, and when you feel like you have 3 to 4 reps left in the tank, that's when you're going to stop. So let's say you're doing your deadlift, you're doing your sets of 8, and you work up again, but this time you go, you don't start with the bar, because if the bar's lying on the floor, it makes the deadlift quite a bit harder. So you start with 95 pounds, so you can have 25s on each side. Then you move up again, and let's say that felt really easy. You did that set 8, now it's a piece of cake. You only did 1 set with it because you're already warm from squats on this day, so you didn't need to repeat 2 warm-up sets with that weight. You just did 1 set of 8 at 95, 1 set of 8 at 135 to get 45-pound plates on there, so the bar is even higher now, making it even easier. And then you did another set of 8, and you did that with 155. At 155, you felt like you had 3 to 4 reps left in the tank, so you'd come here to your question mark, and you would write in 155. You'll notice this has given you some estimated 1 rep maxes to start off. It has automatically populated those estimated 1 rep maxes up in the top. And you've still got question marks on some of your workouts, but you'll notice that you already have this next time when this workout repeats where you have squat and bench, you've got your repeated, your weights here already auto-populated. Now, this is also auto-populating your stiff leg deadlift, but again, you're going to want to use RPE to determine this. And so even though this is auto-populating 160, if when you go into the gym, for whatever reason, stiff leg deadlifts are harder, which they most likely will be, it is absolutely okay to lower that weight to 135 because you're using a different exercise on this deadlift day. That's where those numbers come from, which is to say, every time you go into the gym, you should be looking at your past workout where you have used certain weights at certain RPEs with various rep ranges and looking at that and trying to improve as you go through. However, if the exercise moves from a deadlift to a stiff leg deadlift, it's totally all right to lower or increase the weight. Maybe you find that with your hips higher, it's much easier for you to deadlift because your back is very strong and your quads are weak. Well, that's okay. You can still move up and work until it's an RP7. Maybe this turns out to be 185. I mean, I don't know. And as a novice, the thing is you're not going to know before either. So really, every day you go into the gym and you're trying these new exercises, if you've never done them before, you have no idea what you can actually do. So even after you know what your squatting for sets of 8 is, that doesn't tell you what you can pause squat for sets of 6. So when you go in on this day, same thing that you had before. You're going to work up, you're going to warm up with the bar, and then you're going to start adding weight. And maybe you jump up to 65 pounds and then 85 pounds, except this time, maybe you're using 6s. And again, for warm-ups, a lot of times new athletes will ask this question. You can absolutely warm up with 10 reps. And, you know, maybe you warm up with 2 sets of 10 with the bar, and then you do a set of 8 with 65 pounds, and then you do a set of 6 with 85 pounds, and then you do one more set of 6 with 95 pounds. And that's when you find that you have 2 to 3 reps left. So 95 is what you're going to put in here for your pause squats. Maybe that's how it works for you. Just make sure you're warming up slowly, incrementally adding more and more weight, and you're noting approximately how many reps left you have on each set at the end of your sets. That's how you're going to determine these initial weights. So maybe you end up using 95 pounds here, you end up using 70 pounds here, and you end up using 80 pounds here. Well, now you'll notice things are really starting to auto-populate. You're getting a little bit more of recommendations on various workouts. And so that's going to be helpful to you as you move through. But you still haven't tested your lowest rep ranges yet. And so you're going to, on this day, you'll notice that there are question marks. You're going to work up to 1 set of 4 at RPE 9. Now for an RPE 9, I don't want you to have 2 to 3 reps left, or like an RP 7 where you had 3 to 4 reps left. For an RP 9, I only want you to have 1 to 2 reps left. Really, you should only have 1 rep left on an RP 9, but as a novice, it may be very difficult for you to tell if you had 1 or 2 reps left, or maybe even 1 to 3 reps left. But this should definitely be the highest exertion that you have throughout the week. So, approximately if you did 125 for a set of 8, I bet that you could maybe do maybe 165, maybe that's too much, maybe 160, or maybe even, nope, too much, let me back that up, there we go, or 155. Whatever it is, you're going to go up to 1 set of 4 at 155, and let's say that was your RP9 work. You might come over here and look at your estimated 1 rep max. Here it says 180, and you started with 170. And that's pretty close. I mean, these are estimated 1 rep maxes. They're not set in stone. So you may see some fluctuations back and forth, but in general, you're in the same ballpark there. So that makes sense. Notice though, however, that there is a difference on this day. I'll zoom in here. You're going to do one set of 4 at 155, but then you're going to lower the weight a given percentage. Here it's lowering it to 145, and you're going to do another set of 4. This is called a back off set. And this is where you lower the weight a certain percentage, and you then do more work with it. So know that that's what's going on. You're going to do 2 total sets for the day of 4, which is the same number of sets that you had on day 1, except here you're doing less repetitions with heavier weights at a higher RPE. So this is your heavy, and you'll see over here, your test day. And this is where whatever you end up with, we had 85 there, so probably let's say 105 here, and we had 155 here, so let's go with 185 there. And you'll notice how it populates and generates those numbers, those back offsets here for you automatically. And you have some estimated 1 rep maxes that you're working with. But those estimated 1 rep maxes, that means what you could do for 1 all-out repetition. This program isn't built around that because as a novice, I really don't want you to be doing all-out singles because those have the highest probability for injury. Now, if we back out at this point and look at the chart, we'll notice that there are numbers recommendations all throughout the program. And you can stick pretty closely to the numbers recommendations if you want to. However, I want you to notice that it will automatically add, if you've chosen up here pounds, if you've chosen pounds, it'll automatically add 5 pounds every test day. And there's a test day here, your first one. Here is your second one. Here is your third one. And here is your fourth one. So you'll notice that it goes up. Here it's your squats at 160. Here's at 165. Here's 170. And this is a linear progression where you are testing 4 times per week. So as you go to the gym, you're going to need to, especially on these first 3 workouts, and then also anytime there's a variation here, you're going to have to go back and see if what RPE it actually ends out at. For actual numbers on stiff leg deadlift, I highly doubt that anybody would be doing 185. It'd probably be closer to 115 with this rep range and with that sort of a variation. So anyways, but it would look something like this. Make sure that you look at the RPEs that are listed and that you stick around them fairly closely. You don't have to be rigid though. As I noted here on this, this day, your first set might be at an RPE, your second set might go down or go up a little bit, and your last set might go up or down from there. Oftentimes, I find that my RPEs actually decrease as I go through repeat sets with a certain weight because I get more used to it. I kind of grease the groove, my form improves, and it allows me to have a better performance on back offsets. Some people are not that way. The more they do, the more tired they get and the more form breakdown they have. So they definitely have a very quick increase in their RPEs as they go through these sets. No matter what you do, try to stay around the RPE listed for the number of sets listed. You'll notice there are blanks here as well where you can add in different variations for assistance work. You can also feel free to change these. If you want to do, you know, face pulls with a band for your arms so that they're your shoulders so that they're staying healthy, and you're doing 5 sets 20 with that, that's fine. It may, if you go above 10 on any of these rep ranges, it will give you a reference error here. Just delete that. It doesn't matter what percentage you're using for your face pulls. Who cares what percentage you're using for your face pulls? So don't worry about messing up any of this assistance work stuff here. You can adjust and change this to track what you're actually doing. What is important not to change too much is the main lifts, the squat, bench, deadlift, or the squat, bench, rowing movements that you have throughout the program. But feel free to change some of the overhead press or lat pull downs or shoulder work that's added in there as assistance work. So that is pretty much what you're going to do with the early novice program as you start. And it's very important. You don't have to write out all of what you do when you're warming up, but it's good to have a consistent warm-up schedule where you're hitting the right weights and you're having kind of an even progression, an even jump. It doesn't have to be absolutely even, but to prepare your body to lift, you need to have a few warm-up sets. And I would say have no fewer than 4 warm-up sets before you're into your working weights. Personally now for me, since I squat, you know, my working sets may be in the high 500s or low 600s, I have a lot of warm-up sets because I can't just jump up, you know, 200 pounds every warm-up and then get right into my work sets. So it's okay to have more warm-up sets as you get stronger, and you'll kind of get a rhythm and learn how to do that. Okay, so that said, let me download the intermediate program, or sorry, the late novice program, so I can show you how that works. It's very similar, and so we'll be able to go through this one quite a bit faster. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen properly, though. Okay. So I want to make sure you all can see what I see. All right, there's the late novice program. We'll just get rid of the early novice program. Don't save. Perfect. All right. So this is the late novice program. Oh, share screen went off. Always good to check share screen. Let me pull this back up, and there we go. So this is the late novice program. You'll notice it looks very, very similar to the original program. Now, some of you may go from the early novice program into the late novice program. So you may already have some sets of 8 that you've done in the past. And so you're going to have a really good idea of what you should use for your sets of 8. In fact, you may be able to look at your last week on the late novice program and see exactly what your weights were, and then you could just add a couple of pounds to those and put them in here. Let's say, though, for example, you haven't used any of the programs yet, but you've been training for a little while, so you skipped the early novice program and came straight into the late novice program. Well, you would still follow those same warm-up progressions that I showed before. You're going to warm up, you know, with one set of 8 or one set of 10 maybe with the bar. You're going to do another set of 8, but you've lifted a little bit more, so you're jumping straight to 95 pounds. Then you're going to do another set of 8, and this time you're jumping up to 135. And on this set, you said, well, I felt like I had 4 to 5 reps left. So now you're probably only one jump away from your work set. So you're going to go one set of 8, and you put on 165. And when you do that, you felt, yeah, I had 2 to 3 reps left. Well, then that's your first working set. You're going to type that in, 165. And then you're going to repeat that for 2 sets because it says to do 2 sets of that. So you did 1 set when you first got the number, and then you do 1 more set, so you've done all of them. You're going to do that same process, except you'll have 2 more sets after you do the initial set here. And let's say this is 135, and deadlifts, same deal, and it's 185. So there you go. You got your first 3 numbers. You do your arm work. I've highlighted this here. It's very important that you do this. Sometimes with the early novices, this work right here may be enough for them. They're really sore, they're pretty beat up, and they can't really do a lot of the assistance work and the extra work that's in the program. That's okay if you're an early novice. You're just starting out and you shouldn't overwork yourself. But for the late novice, I really want you to start doing the assistance work, especially if it's highlighted. And in this, I've highlighted only the get the arm pump with dumbbell work. You're probably going to enjoy that anyways, but you need to start building some muscle at this point and getting used to doing a little bit more volume. So that's important. Now I'm going to zoom in here. So you come in the next day, you're doing sets of 6. This looks familiar because it's very similar to the early novice program. These workouts are identical at this point. The variations don't come until a little bit later. But you end up doing 135, you end up doing 115, and you end up doing for barbell rows 155. Okay, great. Then you come into your test. On your test day, you got 190, you got 155, and you got I'll say 215. Let's see how I did on actually matching some estimated 1-rep maxes. We got 225, 180, 255, 225, 180, 265. Hey, pretty good estimated imaginary numbers here. You'll also notice that up here, your estimated maxes have been populated. Those come out of your first day. Kind of, I want you to compare your estimated 1-rep maxes here to the estimated 1-rep maxes that show up at the end of this training cycle. So anyways, On the novice program, this would have been it, because you would have gotten to your 4s, and then you would have repeated the cycle and gone back to 8s, 6s, and 4s again. But on the late novice program, the microcycle is longer. You'll notice it goes to 7s next, because this isn't actually your test day. This is just another lifting day. It looks very similar to the test day, but the major difference is, look at the number of sets here. You're doing sets of 4. You'll remember in the early novice that you only had 2 sets of 4 here. This is still a building workout, and you'll also notice that these were done at RPE 8.5, not RPE 9s. So it's a semi-heavy day still. However, you're doing much more volume at this point in the late novice program. You're then going to get a little bit of a break on this day because you're doing a little bit lower squatting and a little bit lower deadlifting work. So you'll notice you're only doing 3 sets here. These numbers could be whatever. I'm just going to type these in quickly. It may not make complete sense with the other work that's up there at the top, but I just want to kind of get through this and show you what it looks like when it is filled out. And we'll do 55, close grip, we'll go 140, barbell row, 170. There we go. And now we have finally arrived at our test day. You'll notice that after it went 8, 6, 4, it went 7, 5, 3. So we're now testing even lower reps, but we're back to those RPE 9s. And so you're going to work up to an RPE 9 triple. Let's say that was 185. On bench, an RPE 9 triple. Let's base this off our first numbers here. Let's say this is 205 for this person. Give them a little bit of a good microcycle here. 180, 135, so let's go 170. And for deadlift at RPE 9 for a triple, we'll put them at 235. There we go. Or maybe we'll go 235 for this. 235. Maybe that's what their numbers look like. So you've now completed about a week and a half. You've done all of week 1, and you've done the first 2 days in week 2. Notice now that your workouts are kind of auto-populated throughout the next few weeks. And here, your numbers are going to be a linear increase from what they are here. Again, it's going to go up 5 pounds if you are using pounds as your choice. Or if this was in kilograms, these are going to be up 2.5. Now you'll notice that they actually say 208. But if you, where is it? Get a decimal point in there. No, that's not the right one. There it is. If you put a decimal point in here, you'll see for all you kilograms people out there that it is in fact 0.5. So that's what's going on there. It does round and gives you these 8s and 3s. So if you want to add a decimal place in there, that's fine. That's just a formatting issue. But in any case, that's what's going on in the program. And so halfway through week 2 and at the end of week 3, you're having a test day in the late novice program. That's how it works. And what you're looking for is to be lifting more weight and having higher estimated 1 rep maxes here than you do over here. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that this is incorrect, so I don't know why that's the case. Oh, I see. I'll have to adjust this. That's an error in my formulas. Nice. I think it's only in the kilograms one. Yep. So I'll adjust that. You all may never see that, but there is an error right here that I have to fix. It's always good to find those out. Also, on that note, if any of you all out there see errors in any of the formulas or calculations or anything that seems off, definitely email me. That way I can correct those. Sometimes those will slip through. So that is the late novice program. All right. Save. And okay. So I'm going to go through the intermediate program just briefly as well. But I need to pull that up. 1 second. There we go. And I'll download this for intermediate program. Excellent. All right. So Here we go. So if you have come into this and you've really been lifting for a while already, there's no way that you're going to be able to set rep PRs in just a week and a half's time, which is probably a large portion of the audience out there. Really, one thing I'll say though, if you haven't been lifting for a while, then it's okay to hop in, because when you come back to lifting from an extended period off, either due to illness or just due to not being able to go to the gym because of schedules, you'll gain strength back like a novice will. And so feel free to jump in on a novice program and run that through until your gains stop, and then come into the intermediate program. You'll just progress through those a little bit faster than some of the other people. But in any case, kind of the same deal, except you'll see zeros here. The reason why I have zeros here is because I'm assuming that as an intermediate lifter, you might already know what your maxes are. And so if you want to, you can come right in here and type in your 1 rep maxes. That's going to give you a little bit of an estimate when you are using your competition movements. However, you still have question marks on pause squat, close grip bench, barbell row, that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to go through and write all of this out again, creating kind of imaginary numbers. I've done that twice already. So you're just going to go through, and whatever those question marks are, you're going to do the rep range that's listed at the RPE listed, and then you're going to repeat whatever weight that is for the amount of sets that is listed here. You'll notice that some of the reps are higher in this training program. You're going to see some 10s in here, but you're also going to, as the sessions progress, come all the way down to singles. And this, for people using these programs, is the first time that you're actually going to go in and do singles at RPE 9. Now notice this still isn't an all-out RPE 10, and you'll also notice that you have this little tiny mini deload right before this where you have low RPEs. So this is going to allow you to recover a little bit and be a little bit more prepared. But again, this is a miniature test. This isn't a full peak. And you really don't need to have a full peak when you're at this early intermediate stage. When you move into the intermediate program, I'm going to be working on that, as well as probably one more follow-up to that. Then you may have a little bit more of a peak in there. But this, in general, is going to be a solid progression for most people who are coming in, testing 4 times in 3 weeks, then testing 2 times in 3 weeks, and then finally in this program, you're waiting an entire 3-week period before you try to set a new single at RPE 9 PR. And you'll try to then, after you run through this whole program, you'll come back to the start and you'll run through everything again, except you'll bump up all your weights a little bit, maybe 5, maybe 10 pounds across the board. It'll just depend on how fast you're progressing. And then you'll come down and you'll do another test day. And really, you don't have to restrict yourself to only 5-pound PRs on these 3 lifts over this 3-week period. If that's where you're at, that's great. I would love to get 5 pounds on my lifts every 3 weeks. That would be a tremendous rate of progress. But if, as an early intermediate lifter, instead of, you started out here with these numbers, you come down here and you're like, you know what? I can do more than that. I can do, I don't know. What did we start with? 225? I can do 230 for a double. Maybe that's what you can do in there. Enter these numbers in accordance with the RPE that's listed there. That's going to be the most helpful thing that you can do for these lifts. And again, you'll also notice that, this number is abysmally low, 165 at RPE 9. That should tell you that you can change it. You're going to be able to lift more than 165 at RPE 9. That would only give you an estimated 1 rep max of 170. So anytime that it's blue, like it is here, you can definitely increase that. It's totally okay to increase those weights beyond what's written here in these cells. But in general, you're going to have some recommendations that come through the program that are going to give you advice on what numbers to use and what numbers to lift. But yeah, anyways, that's how the programs work. Again, if you see anything that looks really off or really strange, let me know. But in general, everything I think is correct. But again, remember that when there's question marks in here, or if you see something like, let me delete this as though I hadn't entered anything into the program at all. Oh, now these are giving me the 5s because there's zeros here. I'll do that. Oh, still giving me 5s. Anyways, if you see things that say value, or if you see number signs, or if you see stuff that looks crazy right when you download it, just remember that you have to start entering information into the cells before things will start to populate and give you good results. And again, especially in the novice programs, I do not expect you to know your estimated 1-rep maxes when you start. Just go into the workout, start with weights that you can do, and if you do anything, underestimate your weights and do things that are too easy rather than push too hard and start burning out and, you know, have an RPE 10 sets that are these all-out grinder sets with form breakdown. Really, I don't want to see any form breakdown. I want you to really be focusing on form and working on that as you go through these programs, so that as you practice these reps, you start building better motor patterns for your lifting in general. So anyways, that is how you use the programs. I hope you enjoy them. I hope you can give me some feedback on how they work. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are interested, you can sign up for the guided template programs, where you can upload a video with 1 to 3 sets per week, and I'll do a voiceover video review of that in a weekly coaching call. And you can also ask questions that I'll answer in that coaching call as well. So anyways, if you're interested in that service, it is available to you. I hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.